So here is a typical stitch length regulator on a vintage Singer sewing machine. You'll see these numbers on other vintage sewing machines as well. And what they stand for is just stitches per inch. And that can be written like this, either stitches per inch, or you can flip it and you could say inches per stitch. And I'm adding the plural and taking off the plural, but basically these are just different ways of describing the same relationship. Because one thing that we have to remember about math is that when you have fractions, you're basically just comparing two things. In this example, we're comparing stitches to inches. And we can call these, sometimes you'll hear them be called ratios or fractions. Sometimes you will see them as conversion factors and so on. If you're thinking of it in a mathematical equation, this is basically the left side of your equation. This is what's given to you. This is the information that we have. So we know stitches per inch. Now, for the sake of making this lesson easier, I'm going to go with this version where I have the stitches on the bottom and the inches on the top. And just take my word for it, it's easier to see it this way. So sometimes when you see these though on your vintage machine, you want to know, well, what is 10 stitches per inch, for instance? What is that in, say, millimeters? We just want to know millimeters. So we want to know, and this is what you do, you put what you want on the right side of an equal sign. So we want to know how many millimeters are in one stitch. Okay, so we're given 10 stitches per inch, 10, I'll add the S, per 1 inch, and here I'll take off the S. That's what we're given, but this is what we want. We want to know how many millimeters are just in one stitch. Just want to know how long one stitch is in millimeters. Well, to do that in math and in chemistry, they use this a lot. I remember my chemistry class in college. You had to convert a bunch of things on the left. You had to multiply, 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 multiply by these conversion factors, so to speak, in order to get rid of certain things. In this case, what we want to get rid of is the word inches here. But we want millimeters up here on top. So right away, since we know we want to get rid of inches and we know we're just going to be multiplying a bunch of stuff, we go ahead and we put our multiplication sign down. And since we want to get rid of inches, right away we put inches down in the denominator. That's because, whenever you multiply fractions like this, you can move things around. So this could be inches over inches. Well, inches over inches, anything over itself equals 1. 5 over 5 equals 1. Inches over inches equals 1. And 1 times anything is just doesn't do anything to the value of what you're multiplying it by. So basically you can just cancel out the inches. Inches over inches is 1. 1 times 1 over 10 is just 1 over 10. So we're left with 1 over 10. But my point being, what are we going to put up here? And this is where you need to put in a conversion factor. So this is our conversion factor. That's how we know we're multiplying. Well, what conversion factor are we going to use? And what are conversion factors? Well, they're just fractions that help us solve problems. And some conversion factors are, say, 12 inches per 1 foot, or I think 4 quarts per 1 gallon. You know, I can write these the other way. I could say 1 gallon per 4 quarts. You know, they're conversion factors, and we can flip-flop them however we want. 10 millimeters is per 1 centimeter. You know, or 1 centimeter per 10 mils, either way. So there's lots of them that we can write. You know, we use them all throughout life and don't even realize it. Well, another conversion factor is millimeters per inch. There's 25.4 millimeters per 1 inch. And we could write that reversed, 1 inch per 25.4 millimeters. Well, since we want to keep millimeters, that's what we want, is millimeters per 1 stitch. We already have stitch here in the denominator. We want millimeters up here in the numerator. So let's put it up here, and let's use this conversion factor. But we have to fill it in, of course. What is the conversion factor for millimeters to inches? We just wrote it here, 25.4 mils per 1 inch. So now we'll have millimeters per stitch, per 1 stitch is what we're going to end up with. And so since the inch is canceled, the only thing we're left with, you know, because with multiplication you can switch, you know, I could put the 25.4 over the 10. You can move things around up here from left to right. You can move things down here from left to right because we're multiplying. That's just a property of multiplication. So we end up with 25.4 millimeters per 10 stitches, and that equals a certain amount of millimeters, and I won't put the question mark in, I'll just per 1 stitch. Well, you say, how do we get this to equal this? This doesn't look like it equals that. Well, they're just fractions. It's just like, you know, 8 over 4 equals I'll say 2 over 1. How did we get that? Well, we divided 8 by 4, and we divided 4 by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and so whatever you do to the denominator, you do to the numerator. And 8 divided by 4 is 2. So we do the same thing here. Okay, how do we get from 10 to 1? Because these are the two that are known. Just like here with 8 and 4, I should have showed that. The 8 and the 4 equals 2 over 1. Well, how did we get from 4 to 1? 4 divided by 4 is 1, so we have to do the same thing to the numerator. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So we do the same thing over here. How did we get from 10 to 1? Well, we divided by 10, so then we have to do the same thing to the numerator. 25.4 divided by 10, because basically this is just 10 over 10 is the number 1 again, so we're not changing the value of anything. So 10 divided by 10 is 1. 25.4 divided by 10, well, it's easy to divide the decimals by 10. If you divide a decimal by 10, you just move the decimal point to the left. You make it smaller because you're dividing by a number 10, by a number, whole number. So, and specifically the number 10 in this case. So we move this decimal point 1 unit or 1 placeholder to the left. So that makes this 2.54 millimeters for 1 stitch. Try to make that better. So you say to yourself, well, what's an easy, quick way to get from 10 stitches per inch to this 2.54 mils? Well, you could just kind of say to yourself, well, how did I get from 10 to 2.54? You basically took 25.4 and divided it by 10. That's really all you did. So whatever number is here, if you want to know how many mils it is, just take 25.4 divided by that number, and that'll give you your answer in mils. Because 25.4 millimeters is the same as 1 inch. Now you could say to yourself, well, I just want an estimate. I don't need the 4 here. So you could then just say, okay, it's 25 divided by 10. 2.5 mils. So now any number on here, all you have to do is take 25 divided by this number, and that'll give you the mils. So down here, the number 6, 25 divided by 6, well, 24 divided by 6 is 4 mils, so we know it's 4 something, 4 point something. And you look in your calculator, 25 divided by 6 is 4.166666, so it's about 4.2 mils. And 25 divided by 7, 7 times 3 is 21, 7 times 4 is 28, so it's somewhere between 3 and 4. Say, I don't know, 3.5. 25 divided by 7 is 3.57. So we'll just say 3.6 mils. And so on and so on. 25 divided by 8 is, well, 8 times 3 is 24, so it's 3 point, a really small decimal. 25 divided by 8 is 3.125. So we'll just say 3.1. 25 divided, we already did 10, it's 2.54. But we're just going to round it to 2.5. And then 25 divided by 12. Well, 12 times 2 is 24, so we know it's 2 something. 25 divided by 12, 2.08. So we'll just call it 2.1. And you can keep going up and up and up. 25 divided by 15. Well, we know it's going to be a number smaller than 2. 25, because 15 times 2 is 30. So we went over the 25. So 25 divided by 15 is 1.66666. So I'll just say 1.7. And so on and so on and so on. So that's your shortcut over here, but this is kind of like how we got it. You know, this is the exact method to all this madness. So I hope this was helpful. And remember, if you want to go from mils back to stitches per inch, if you're dividing, then these two numbers are multiplied. So if you say in your head you want, we'll just take this example here, the 2.5. If you want 2.5 mils, well, you just say to yourself, okay, well, what's 25 divided by 2.5? And you say to yourself, okay, well, that equals 10. And so then you'll know to dial it to 10 if you want 2.5 mils. And if you want, say, around 3 mils, well, 25 divided by 3 is about 8. So you put it on around 8 and so on. And I have little tubes that they're plastic tubes that I stick inside of here. And it gives me all my stitch lengths. So like I have those old pen tubes from your pen. I take that out and use that. I have tube turners. I take those out and use that. And I'll stick them in here when this is completely open. And I'll push the lever down on that tube, pull the tube out, push this knob up and tighten it. And that'll be my stitch length. And I have a chart that shows me what each of my little tubes equal in millimeters and in stitches per inch even. So this is stitches per inch here, this column. So there you go. All right, guys, till next time. Bye.